I will be talking about personal safety and protective behavior across in-person and online spaces. So, of course, working in the WCPUs, you are already well too familiar with the different child protection concerns, no? Kahit whether it's in person or online, kasi ito yung hinahandle nyo na cases. My talk will focus on the prevention aspect. So, prevention can come in at 2 points kasi eh. For children who are not victims, so we want to build up their protective behavior para mas bumaba yung chances na ma-victimize sila, tumaas yung resiliency nila. And of course, also for victims kasi uh, once they become victimized, there's a chance na magkaroon ng revictimization kung hindi natin sila i-empower para mas tumaas yung resiliency nila. So my talk focuses on the specific safety messages that we have to communicate to children. Ano? Um, Hindi bago sa lahat ang karaniwan yung child protection education. Kaya lang minsan hindi siya evidence-based, minsan fear-mongering, at minsan masyadong generic yung messages. Um, in engaging with children, children want to know more specific information in order for them to protect themselves. No? So ito na yon, ito yung personal safety and protective behavior across in-person and online spaces. So nakaangkla siya doon sa social-emotional learning. Ito yung ginagamit na framework ng child protection education. Bakit social-emotional learning? Binibuild up kasi ng SEL o ng SEL yung internal capacity ng bata in order to navigate complicated situations like potential abuse. It becomes an empowerment tool. So for those who might not be fully familiar with SEL or social emotional learning, basically doon sa parlance dati, ito yung tinatawag natin na life skills. Pero ang more appropriate term of course is SEL, no? So ito yung process of developing yung self-awareness ng bata, empathy, and of course yung decision-making skills in order to navigate complicated spaces. So hindi lang siya nakafocus sa distressing situations like potential abuse, it's applicable for all kinds of situations in everyday life. So ito yung social-emotional learning. Ngayon, yung social-emotional learning, meron siyang iba't ibang domains, no? So, the first one is yung self-awareness domain, knowing oneself. The second one is self-management, managing one's own behavior. The third one is social awareness, knowing what's happening within the social spaces, the different social spaces. Then the next one is relationship skills. How do I navigate interpersonal communication, interpersonal interactions? And the last one is responsible decision making. So social emotional learning in itself as a framework doesn't explicitly talk about child protection kasi it's more on navigating life in general. Pero there is a body of evidence stating that if we want to increase the protective behavior of children, we have to leverage on the domains of social emotional learning. Okay? Kasi ang sinasabi ng evidence na research, yung pagtuturo sa bata on how to process emotions and social cues is more effective than simply teaching safety rules. So okay naman magturo ng safety rules sa mga bata, right? Like the good touch, bad touch, but on a more deeper level and sustainable level, mas importante yung aspeto ng SEL in terms of emotion processing and social cues kasi minsan, pag teaching safety rules lang, the safety rules might present one specific instance or example of a situation. But if the situation they are in deviates from that example, baka hindi nila alam kung ano na yung gagawin. And thus, we have to empower children to have the necessary skills, tools, and knowledge to assess what I should do if I am facing a potentially abusive situation. So dito pumapasok yung SEL. So ano pa yung evidence supporting the use of SEL as a framework for child protection education? So sinasabi dito sa research na 'to, sa publication na 'to, na yung mga programs indicating child protection education programs incorporating SEL skills, nearly double the effect size on knowledge. So mas tumataas yung knowledge retention kung SEL yung framework and protective behavior compared to those without. Another evidence says that yung interoception, ito yung how do you get to recognize and act on your gut feelings, which is a very important step in protective behavior. Sinasabi na pag SEL siya, dahil nasa SEL siya, mas tumataas yung resiliency nila against potential abuse. Yung assertiveness, it's also a component of personal safety and protective behavior. Core pillar siya ng SEL. At pag mas mataas yung assertiveness ng isang bata, mas mataas din yung tsansa na makawala siya sa potentially abusive situation because mas kaya niyang mag-say no sa it's either sa peers or adults in unsafe contexts or situation. Tapos in terms of knowledge gain, no, students with strong SEL skills show an 11% gain in terms of the skill and ito napakaganda yung decrease in conduct problems and emotional distress. Alam natin kapag yung bata ay may conduct problem and laging nasa emotional distress, mas mataas yung risk niya towards victimization kasi yung vulnerability of course tumataas kasi yung mga offenders, we know that they target children in these kinds of situations. So SEL shows that napapababa niya yung mga gantong instances. And last but not the least, yung SEL, it also provides what they call yung reflective cognitive steps. Ito yung SIP, yung social information processing. So the SIP basically helps children to unfreeze, no? Pag nasa socially distressing situation ka, like for example, someone doing a bad touch, it's either a fight or flight response. Unfortunately, many children may third response. Yung frozen na lang sila, hindi ako magre-react. Nawawala si fight or flight. So SEL provides crucial capabilities para makapag-SIP sila, social information processing, para maiwasan nila yung no reaction in such situations. So ngayon, yung SEL, as you can see, it's very generic actually, no? It's very generic. If you look at modules on SEL or teaching modules on SEL, hindi kaunti yung focus sa abuse prevention. So the challenge is now how do we transform itong SEL into a more practical child protection education focused tool? So itong mga to, which is very generic in nature, how do we transform it for child protection education or messaging? Dito na po papasok yung idea ng personal safety and protective behavior. Now, bakit across in-person and online spaces? Before, ang personal safety and protective behavior, nagmula siya sa Australia. It was, I think, made during the early 90s even. Ginagawa na nila to. Kaya lang syempre, during that time, walang internet, walang social media, etc. So, of course, PSPB or personal safety and protective behavior focuses on in-person interaction. Pero ngayong dumating na yung social media, technology, etc., yung vulnerability and victimization has crossed spaces, no? Um, for many years dito sa Philippines, ang treatment sa child protection education ay laging dichotomized. Iba yung discussion about child protection education for in-person spaces at iba yung messaging sa online spaces or cyber safety. Kaya lang, based on the observation since this issue became very rampant in the Philippines, hindi pala pwedeng ihiwalay yung dalawang aspeto. What does the evidence say? Yung offline vulnerability is also online risk. Kumbaga, interconnected siya. Ang sinasabi, if a child is vulnerable offline, mataas din yung significantly increases yung risk niya ng victimization sa digital world. So yung napakasimpleng idea na kung ang isang bata ay vulnerable offline, most likely vulnerable online din siya. And thus, it makes sense na dapat pag sa child protection messaging, yung prevention messaging, hindi natin dapat dinidiscuss siya ng magkahiwalay. Kasi children right now, they live in this continuum in shared spaces na para sa kanila minsan wala nang nagbe-blur na yung online and in-person spaces. Wala sinasabing online life ko, wala sinasabing in real person life ko. It's one continuous space for them. And thus, child protection prevention messaging should also treat it that way. Tapos another thing is, yung perpetrator, syempre, alam natin, it's a mixture of strangers and people known to the child. Majority nga ay kakilala ng bata. Many years back, prevention messaging focused on stranger danger, which is not valid anymore. Kaya dapat we also adjust to that. Kasi hindi nga lahat ng perpetrators ay strangers. Kaya yung online messaging tulad ng don't talk to strangers online, it's not really effective. Kasi basically, hindi na strangers yung nagbibiktima sa mga bata. So ngayon, let's do a deep dive on personal safety and protective behavior. Ano yung mga key messages na kailangan nating ipasa sa mga bata? So one challenge is, itong ipe-present ko, ano siya, medyo napakadetalyado niya, and sa context niyo bilang doctors, magko-consult sa inyo, etc., you might not be able to discuss all of them. So what I would suggest is you try to pick up ano yung mga tingin nyo core messages na pwede nyo later i-advise sa mga bata na makakatrabaho nyo. Right? Kasi this is designed in the context of educational settings. Halimbawa, isang teacher na magtuturo sa mga bata or isang CSO na magko-community session, ganito yung disenyo niya. So the information here is for adults working with children. Pero pag yung materials themselves, pag ituturo na sa mga bata, of course, mas age and developmentally specific at contextualized for children's language. Yan. So tingnan natin, ano ba yung ibang domains ngayon ng PSPB? So meron tayong the first one, ito, concept and language for the private body parts, kinds of touches and early warning signs, saying no in personal emergency situations, telling a trusted adult, empathy and online to offline consequences, online interactions, recognizing online red flags, and digital footprints and personal information. So kung makikita nyo, yung pula, ito yung fundamentals. It's applicable for in-person spaces. It was made in the context of in-person spaces. Yung blue are adjustments or additional because of the digital space. Pero it doesn't mean na yung pula hindi applicable sa online space kasi it builds on that concept. So yung fundamental concept na matututunan dun sa red boxes are then transposed in online spaces. So isa-isahin po natin siya. Unahin natin to yung pinaka-fundamental, the concept and language for the private body parts. So saan siya naka-angkla sa SCL? Andito siya sa dalawa, self-awareness and social awareness. Ngayon, pinaka-basic, no, in building up the resiliency of children against abuse and exploitation, yung konsepto ng private body parts is very surprising when we talk to communities, to parents, to children themselves na yung konsepto ng private body parts, not many have that conversation at home because of the taboo in terms of anything related to sex or sexuality, no? So napaka-importante na ma-build up yung concept. Ano ba yung private body parts? It should be a conversation. At nagsisimula yan dapat pag na-develop na yung language ng bata, dapat nagsisimula na. So yung unang sinasabi namin sa mga adults when you work with children, una, i-define mo kung ano ba yung konsepto ng private body parts. Kasi the term itself, private body parts, the term private, will be leveraged on when you do the teachings, additional messaging later on. Tapos yung directness ng pagtawag, yung use of the correct or direct terms, proper terms, no? Hindi yung paggamit ng slang terms. Kasi what we are telling adults is that when you use slang terms to refer to the private body parts, you are silently passing that culture of taboo na hindi ko masabi siya ng diretso kasi nga nakakahiya. And then children might interpret it as kung yun yung sasabihin ko ng diretso yung private body parts, bastos na ako or bad, paano pa pag may humawak noon? So nagko-contribute siya dun sa culture of shame. Kasi ang tinuturo natin by talking about the private body parts and using the direct terms is yung idea ng body autonomy na ang katawan mo ay sa iyo at walang may karapatan na humipo diyan. Pero realistic rin dapat kasi hindi puwedeng gano'n, hindi naman puwedeng walang hihipo. Merong mga rare and specific situations na maaaring mangyari ito. So ano yung exemptions? Halimbawa, for younger children who might not be able to take care of themselves in terms of washing hygiene, ito yung isang exemption. And for all children, of course, during valid medical procedures. Pero in general, dapat ang main messaging sa bata, walang dapat humipo ng pribadong parte ng katawan mo. So that's the main or pinaka-fundamental na personal safety and protective behavior messaging. Ngayon, mayroon ng konsepto ng language ng private body parts. Yung pangalawang box ay tinatawag na kinds of touches and early warning signs. So saan siya nakaangkla? Andito po sa SEL. So self-awareness, social awareness, and responsible decision making. Okay? Ibibuild na unti-unti yung decision making in terms of what should I do? How should I detect if someone is touching me already? What should I do? Yeah. So private body parts, pero pag sa usapang abuse, sexual abuse and exploitation, of course, eventually pupunta yan sa touching. And children should have the conceptual knowledge or conceptual idea doon sa iba't ibang touches. Very common to sa child protection messaging or education. Good touch, bad touch, safe touch, unsafe touch. So alam natin, ang tinuturo natin sa gantong aspeto ay yung body boundaries. Pero dadagdagan natin kasi we also have to acknowledge that children also harm other children in certain situations. So dapat yung idea is you protect yourselves, your body boundaries, but you also honor other people's body boundaries para mas maiwasan yung peer-to-peer abuse. Yeah. So going back to the kinds of touches, alam natin yung safe or good touch, no? Pero when talking to children about it, hindi pwedeng, again, generic messaging lang. You have to at least provide parameters. Paano ko ba masasabi na ang isang hipo ay safe or good touch? So kami, we defer to safe or unsafe in terms of terminology. Kasi the good and bad, minsan na ano siya, na ikakabit sa morality, no? But we want to approach it from a safety perspective, no? So, yung parameters na madaling gamitin ay, una, saan ka hinihipo? Pag safe touch, sa non-private parts of the body. Kaya lang, paano mo i-discuss yung non-private kung malabo or medyo vague yung konsepto ng private body parts sa bata? So kailangan, yun nga, fundamental yun. Pangalawa, paano ka hinihipo? It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause pain, etc. That's the physical sensation. At yung pakiramdam sa loob, yung emotions, it doesn't feel confusing or uncomfortable. Yan. So yun yung safe touch. Ngayon, yung unsafe touch, tinanggal natin yung parameters ng pakiramdam. Kasi dapat malinaw sa bata kapag may humipo sa private body parts mo, unsafe touch na yon except in the situations we mentioned kanina. Halimbawa, hygiene or medical procedures. Kaya lang, even in context na nililinisan yung bata, pwedeng maging abusive. At dito papasok yung limitation ng pagkilala lang sa safe and unsafe or good and bad touch. Kasi in reality, may pangatlong klaseng paghipo. At ito yung tinatawag natin na confusing touches and many people aren't actually familiar with this. Ito yung midway between safe and unsafe touches. Ito yung mga paghipo na hindi siya ginagawa sa private parts. So, non-private parts of the body. So, hindi private parts, pero pag hinipo ikaw bilang bata, ang pakiramdam mo kakaiba, uncomfortable, unsure, or sa mga Gen Z millennials, icky yung feeling, parang kakaiba. Yun. So, importanteng konsepto to kasi meron tayong tinatawag na touching process or touch continuum, wherein many offenders, they start out with safe touching, wherein they establish rapport, build the trust. So, simplified grooming process. At ang mga offenders, kapag naka-establish ng trust, hindi naman sila didiretso sa unsafe touching. Meron silang ginagawang grooming process. So sa simple parlance, ito na yung confusing stage kung saan may mga paghaplos, paghipo, etc. na hindi pa abusive per se, pero tinetest ni offender yung limits ng bata kung magsisay no ba siya. Kaya lang ang challenge is sa sociocultural context ng Pilipinas na kung saan pinapalaki yung mga bata na um, huwag kang magsi no to adults kasi pag nag-say no ka, ikaw isang sutil, matigas yung ulo, etc. Eh kaya lang hindi pa sa private body parts hinihipo. So ang hirap i-call ng attention yung humihipo kasi maaring i-gaslight yung bata. Maaring sabihin, wala naman akong ibig sabihin sa paghawak ko sa kamay mo, umaakbay lang naman ako, naturally touchy lang yung tao, etc. Pero yung bata, iba na pala yung pakiramdam. Ito yung confusing touches. So dalawa yung posibleng reaction ng bata. It's either i-reject niya yung confusing touch or wag niyang i-reject. The child stays silent. And when the child stays silent, doesn't reject the confusing touches, most probably tutuloy siya sa unsafe touching. So and thus, yung kinds of touches, kapag ang tinuro lang natin ay good touch, bad touch, safe touch, unsafe touch, hindi siya nagiging disruptive tool. Kasi by the time magkaroon ng unsafe touching, victim na yung bata, nagkaroon na ng abuse. Kasi, di ba, ang unsafe touch ay sa private body parts. Eh, what we want to happen is disruption. So sa face pa lang ng confusing touches, kailangan ma-articulate na ng bata na ayoko, hindi ako okay doon sa ginagawa mo. Yan. So, yung touching process na to, pwede rin siyang maging situations kasi hindi lahat ng pagkakataon may touches. Halimbawa, yung pag-aas ng adult na, halika, punta ka nga sa room ko, tas kayo lang dalawa, isasara yung pinto, etc. Kahit wala pang sexual na paghipo, it can be a precursor to abuse already because offenders, what they do is they try to normalize risky situations, knowing that majority of children might not say no to those risky situations because it's not an explicit form of abuse yet. And that's where offenders bank on yung ganong sociocultural dynamic. So kailangan baliin natin yung ganong aspeto. So this is one way to counteract that situation. Now next, yung confusing and risky situations or touches, it's very subjective as well, no? Most of the time kasi depende yan sa pakiramdam ng bata. Kaya lang may mga bata na minsan hindi nila ma-articulate sa language yung pakiramdam nila. And thus we have to help or provide them additional tools in order for them to tell, ano na ba to? Confusing touch or situation na ba to? Risky situation or touch na ba to? At ito yung tinatawag na early warning signs. So, very simple. When a person is in a potentially distressing situation or heightened state of emotion, um, may physical signs. So ito na yon, yung uh, butterflies in the stomach, bumibilis yung pagtibok ng puso, pinapawisan ng malamig, nangihina yung tuhod, etc. etc. Goosebumps, yan. So, itong mga early warning signs na to, maaring mangyari sa dalawang situation. Masaya ka, pero nakakaranas ka ng early warning sign. Halimbawa, nakausap mo si crush o nakasakay ka sa roller coaster, di ba? At pwede rin siya maramdaman sa situations na potentially dangerous. Tulad ng ang bilis ng takbo ng sasakyan, hindi mo kontrolado yung speed, ang bilis ng driver patakbo, ang pakiramdam mo baka maaksidente, lumalabas early warning sign. So it's very important for children to recognize this, na ang messaging natin is kapag mayroong kang kausap o umihipo sa'yo at ang pakiramdam mo ay ganito na lumalabas na itong early warning signs, it is a potentially confusing or risky situation or touch already. So what we're doing is giving children additional tools to decide, to discern and assess if a situation is potentially abusive already. Right? Kasi hindi mo naman ma-elaborate yung lahat ng examples ng confusing touches. But what you can do is provide the parameters and hope the children would be able to apply these parameters in those specific situations later on. Okay, so ando na tayo sa pangatlo. So, saying no in personal emergency situations. So, saan siya nakaangkla? Andito naman po siya. Okay? Um, so, syempre, ang tinuturo natin is, pag mayroong umipo sa'yo na nakakalito o kaya unsafe, may karapatan ka magsabi ng no, say no. So sa actual sessions with children, we actually ask children to demonstrate yung assertive way of saying no. Kasi sa kultura ng Pilipinas wherein saying no is for children, saying no is equated to matigas ang ulo or masama kang bata. Um, Minsan naa-apply din nila yon sa abusive situation na ang hirap mag-say no sa isang potentially abusive situation kasi nga napalaki sila ng gano'n na hindi ako pwede mag-say no sa adults. So aside from teaching them how to say no, it's basically also ingraining to them this idea na okay lang mag-say no sa adults if they make you feel confused, uncomfortable, or unsafe. The basic idea. So you're counteracting that cultural belief na hindi ako pwedeng mag-say no sa adults. Uh, so that's one core personal safety and protective behavior teaching, no? Kaya lang, in certain instances, minsan hindi nagwo-work yung saying no. And sometimes it will disrupt the abuser lalo kung nasa confusing or risky situation kasi nasa gauging stage pa lang yung offender eh. So yung potential offender. So pag na ano niya na assertive tong batang to, it's not worth it. Kasi may hirapan siyang ituloy later on to unsafe situations. Kaya lang may mga offenders na kahit mag-say no yung bata, itutuloy pa rin niya yung ginagawa niya. So dapat turuan din natin yung bata, mag-say ka na no, pero kung hindi gagana yung pag-say no, then ito na yung idea ng personal emergency situation. We have to teach this concept to children. So ano yung personal emergency situation? We can use metaphors like uh, in everyday life. Halimbawa sa kalsada, di ba, may traffic lights, may traffic sign. Sa traffic lights may tatlong ilaw, red, yellow, and green. So pag red, stop. Pag yellow, caution. Pag green, go. Kaya lang, pag may emergency situation like halimbawa an ambulance can actually proceed even if it's a red sign or traffic signal. Kasi nga, emergency situation siya. So, kailangan maintindihan nila na kapag nasa personal emergency situation sila, tulad ng may humihipo na confusing, risky, or unsafe, they can break the rules in order to feel safe again and escape the situation. So, ano yung idea ng breaking the rules? Nakaugat ito doon sa paniniwala na bilang bata kailangan meron kang good manners and right conduct palagi towards adults. Pero unfortunately, offenders bank on this as well na alam nila na kung hindi alam ng bata yung gagawin in such situation, magsisay ano lang sila, tatahimik na lang yung bata, magfi-freeze, etc. So we have to teach children na pag ganun yung situation, unsafe na or confusing, risky, you can do anything just in order to feel safe again and escape the situation. You can lie, pwede kang magsinungaling. Or even up to the point na mag-commotion ka, sumigaw ka, break stuff, etc. It's a delicate messaging kasi yung iba sasabihin nila I can hurt the other person. Yes. Yes, you can explore that. You can kick the person in the balls, etc. Kaya lang, we also caution children na mas importante pa rin ang buhay mo. Kasi we also don't want to pass on that messaging na kailangan you have to escape at all costs. So kailangan may tempering na at the end of the day, your life is more important than any situation. Yun. So kailangan meron din ganung pagbabalanse. Okay, so the child knows what abuse is via unsafe situations or risky situations, the child knows that ang katawan ko ay sa akin, may karapatan ako magsabi ng no, at kung hindi yun epekto ay may mga pwede akong gawin para makawala sa situation na yun. Pero of course, kailangan din nating i-build up yung help-seeking behaviors nila. At ito yung isang sinasagot ng personal safety and protective behavior, yung telling a trusted adult. So, saan siya nakaangkla? Andito po siya sa dalawa. So, bakit responsible decision making? Logical na andun siya kasi yun yung pagde-decide na magsasabi ako. Pero yung relationship skills, it's included in the SEL domain for telling a trusted adult kasi makikita nyo, ang nakalagay dito, trusted adult. Kasi for many years no sa child protection education, ang common messaging is magsabi ka sa DSWD, sa barangay, sa PNP, etc. That's all well and good. Pero unfortunately, the reality is many children, because they don't know those persons in those institutions, it's very, kumbaga, challenging to go there for a child. It's very complicated. It's very, I wouldn't say threatening, pero kasi institution yan eh. How do you expect a child to actually go to those institutions? Kaya ang perspective natin, dapat ang messaging is the children should tell their trusted adults, and is those trusted adults who have the responsibility to access those formal institutions that can give support. Ngayon, kung may batang makakapagsumbong diretso sa barangay, sa PNP, disability, then that's well and good. Pero most of the time, the trusted adult concepts help more, no? Kasi mas accessible itong mga to. So, yung trusted adults are, ito yung mga safe and, very important, accessible people at their home, school, or in the community who are always there to listen and help. So usually what we do is, an example of an activity that we do with children is, we ask them to draw a flower or stairs or any object na pwedeng may levels or compartments. So halimbawa, kung flowers, 5 petals. Kung stairs, 5 steps. So we ask them to imagine a situation wherein meron kang mabigat na problema and you want to talk to someone about it. Sino yung unang adult na pumapasok sa isip mo? Write the name of that adult in the first petal of that flower. And it should be a name, Tapos bibigyan mo ng parameter na, of course, dapat adult at dapat accessible. So yun na, isusulat na niya yung pangalan. And then you present a second scenario. You went to this person, but unfortunately, the person was either unavailable or they didn't want to help you. So sino yung susunod mong pupuntahan? Write the name of that person. And then we continue the activity hanggang makakumpleto ng 5 adults yung bata. And basically, this becomes their social support system. Ito yung mga trusted adults na alam nila pwede nilang puntahan if they are experiencing a distressing situations like potential abuse. Napaka-importante ng visual reminder kasi para sa mga bata na halimbawa yung social support system at home is very weak, yung visual reminder na meron pala akong 5 taong pwedeng lapitan becomes a nudge for them to talk to these persons. At bakit 5 at least, no? Kasi ang gusto natin maiwasan yung kung isa lang yung identify ng bata at hindi nga nakinig or nag-victim blame pa yung tao na yun, ay titigil lang yung bata magsumbong. So we want to tell children that you should tell and tell until someone believes and helps you. Yun. So yun po. So yun yung huli, no, sa doon sa pula, doon sa mga fundamentals, no, for in-person spaces. Pero yung concepts na na-discuss doon sa red boxes are also applicable doon sa online spaces. So ano yung mga dagdag? Ito yung unang dagdag. Yung konsepto ng empathy and online to offline consequences. So one peculiar thing in terms of children's behavior online is may mga bata nagsasabi na ano siya, mas minsan wala yung social appreciation ng social cues na dapat magalang ako sa kausap ko or kind ako. Kasi minsan, mas madaling mag-misbehave kung screen lang yung katapat. So we have to counteract that by reminding them that when you are talking to someone online, you're actually talking to an actual person. So that's one core messaging that we have to provide children and discuss children, no? Discuss with children. Kailangan maintindihan nila na oo nga't may screen sa pagitan natin pero at the end of the day, you are talking to someone who might also be hurting or might be hurt by what you say or post online. So yan yung isang dagdag sa online space kasi sa in-person communication minsan ano yan hindi applicable kasi wala yung screen kumbaga. Yeah. So another one is discerning online interactions, no? Dito papasok yung social awareness and responsible decision making. So we build upon the concept of safe, confusing, and unsafe situations sa in-person, yung touching. And then we build upon it and um, process with children na pwede rin siya mangyari online. And we talk to children and ask them, so, kung ganito yung pagkakaintindi mo sa what is safe, risky, and unsafe situations, how does it manifest online? Yan. A very important message as well is, ano siya, pwede siyang involving strangers or people you know also in real life. Kasi maaring okay yung interaction ng tao sa bata in person, pero yun pala, iba na yung usapan online. So children have to understand that idea as well. So, di ba, dati ang messaging is stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers online. So we have to supplement that. Yes, that's still a good messaging kasi may mga strangers na masama talaga yung intention pero sabi nga natin it's also people that children know. So the focus is on the behavior and your feelings as children. So dito papasok yung early warning signs. Not the relationship per se, pero lang kung kamag-anak ko ba siya, teacher ko siya, etc. Hindi. Regardless of your relationship with the person, if they exhibit certain kinds of behaviors and you feel something like this, yung sa early warning signs, then the interaction might not be safe. So yung concept ng online stranger, medyo tricky siya. So ang messaging namin, hindi yung traditional messaging na all strangers are bad. All strangers will abuse you. Hindi ganon. Ang sinasabi lang namin na you the way you interact with strangers in real life should be the same as the way you interact with strangers online. So the basic idea na sa totoong buhay, okay lang makipag-usap sa stranger kasi nangyayari naman yan, may magtatanong sa'yo, etc. Pero kung stranger yon in real life, hindi ka sasama pag inaya ka niya doon sa malayong sa isang lugar na kayo lang. O di kaya nagtanong siya ng mga very personal questions. Hindi mo yun i-entertain in real life. So online, ganun din naman na yes, in games for example, you would often talk to strangers via chat, pero you should know when the line would be crossed. So, ang isang madaling way para ipaliwanag namin siya sa bata ay kung ano yung hindi mo sasagutin at gagawin mong pakikipag-usap or interaction sa stranger offline, ay ganoon din dapat online. Kasi pag sinabi natin na don't talk to strangers, that's actually not a very realistic messaging. Kasi sa disenyo ng mga online games ngayon, etc., you will be talking to strangers. Ang mangyayari niyan, if we insist with the messaging don't talk to strangers, ano lang yan, papasok sa isang tenga ng bata tapos lalabas sa kabila pero they wouldn't follow it. So might as well, while we're waiting for changes in platforms, might as well empower children to know how to navigate these complicated online spaces safely. Of course, may age appropriateness din naman, no? So as if you know, kung young ones, we have to also help them with tech features like yung limiting stranger interactions, turning off chat features in games kasi minsan pag younger children, mas mahirap i-discern nung bata kung ang behavior ba ng stranger ay unsafe na. So dito papasok yung konsepto ng tricky persons. So ito yung isang ginagawa din namin, no? Yung concept of tricky persons instead of strangers lang per se. Kasi the tricky person can be both a stranger or a person they know in real life. Okay? So ano yun? So una, ano ba yung action ng tricky person? So ang tricky person, they break safety rules or boundaries, yung in-establish natin nung una. Second, ano yung pakiramdam mo when talking to these persons? If they make you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, they might be a tricky person. So yun nga, again, the goal is to focus on these person's behavior and not their face, kung ano yung mukha nila or ano yung relationship mo with them. Para ma-ingrain na abuse or harm can also be committed by persons we know and not only strangers. Ayan. For teenagers, it's not just about avoiding strangers, no. Kasi ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na especially for teenagers, they will be bound to encounter strangers online for teenagers kasi they are at an age already wherein they will want to expand their social circle, and tech platforms would provide those opportunities. Kasi nga hindi naman lahat ng strangers ay masama. Kaya ang focus sa teens would be building up their ability to trust, detect, and trust their instincts, especially when a connection or an online relationship starts to feel risky, confusing, or unsafe. At dito tayo papasok, connected dyan, yung konsepto ng red flags, online red flags. So, doon siya nakadikit sa self-awareness and social awareness yung online red flags. So, ano siya, napakasimpleng parameter for children to detect. Paano masasabing online red flag na yung isang online interaction? Simple, kapag ang interaction ay violente na or sexualized or sexual or sexualized, both from the people we don't know and people we know. So that's an online red flag para mas madaling ma-determine ng bata. Kaya lang, 'pag teens medyo mas complicated kasi yung sexual interaction online happens with romantic partners, teen to teen. So ito na yung sexting, for example, yung palitan ng intimate images between teens and romantic relationship. So it's a complicated discussion to navigate kasi we believe that teens have evolving capacities. So based on their evolving capacities and developmental stage, it's a normal part of exploration. Kaya lang, pag online nga, there are additional risks kasi nga, uh, aside doon sa risks inherent sa in-person interaction, sa online kasi nagkakaroon ng content, may nade-develop na content. Kaya ang halimbawa content tulad ng picture mo na intimate, pinadala mo sa partner mo. So ang discussion namin with teens with regards to online red flags focuses on detecting pressure or even of course the idea of consent, na kapag kahit sa romantic partner mo, kapag may pressure na or walang consent, major red flag na siya. Um, so, kinakabit namin siya doon sa discussion about digital footprints and personal information. Okay. So, dito siya nakakabit sa self-management and responsible decision-making. So, digital footprints and protecting sensitive or private information. Um, kung makikita natin, meron dalawa, no? Sensitive and private. Yung kasing common messaging dati, don't share your private information online. Tapos pag tiningnan mo, ano yung private information nakalagay doon? Name, address, school, contact number, etc. etc. Kaya lang, nawawala ng kapangyarihan yung konsepto kapag masyadong general na ganun. Kasi nga, you actually share your name online. Sometimes you share your contact details if you're selling something. And children, teens do this. So a better way to approach this is to provide more nuance. So mayroong personal information na sensitive at mayroong personal info na private. So pag sensitive information, ito yung info about us that we might share to a select group of people. Hindi sa lahat pero select group pa lang. For example, your home address, you might share it online, pero hindi sa lahat. Maybe your friends. Your contact details, if you're not an online seller, you might not share your contact details. If you are selling something, you might maintain a contact number for that very purpose, pero not your personal number. So ito yung sensitive information. Para yung konsepto ng private information, it then becomes more powerful in the context of violence prevention. So, pwede natin siyang ikabit doon sa idea ng private body parts na kapag yung image includes your private body parts. Yun yung private information. Kasi the idea is, yung sa digital footprint, once you share it, you have lesser control over these images. Wag na po natin gagamitin yung phrasing na once you share it online, it's there forever kasi hindi naman na totoo yun. May mga available tools now to take down those kinds of images. Pero hindi pa rin 100%. So the phrasing is lesser control. You have lesser control over those images. With teens, again, it's a more nuanced conversation. Kasi nga, yung idea ng private body parts, the common one of course is pag private body parts images, wag mong i-share kasi pribadong parte ng katawan mo yun eh. Kaya lang 'di ba, sabi nga natin with teens, more nuanced conversation kasi meron ngang romantic interactions even online yung mga teens. Ayun, sa tulad po nun yung sexting or sexual texting na kung saan nagpapalitan ng images. Ngayon, for teens 'no, nire-relate namin yung sharing of sensitive or private info sa concept ng digital footprints and consent. So, yung goal nga is for them to make safer, informed decisions, whether to share or not to share a sensitive or private image with their romantic relationship partner. Ngayon nga, para mas matulungan sila sa informed decision, safer informed decision, sinasabi nga natin na if you decide to share intimate images like that, number one, you will have lesser control over these images. And number two, if it was shared in the context of pressure or no consent, then it's not safe actually. So yun yung konteksto ng discussion namin with teenagers. Okay, so ito na. Ito yung personal safety and protective behavior. Of course, when we do sessions with children, whether younger children or teenagers, may major adjustments kasi hindi mo naman siya ipapakita ng ganito. So yung mga concepts na naandito sa mga boxes na to, naka-embed doon sa mga, halimbawa sa mga videos, learning sessions, workshops, etc., structured learning exercises na ginagawa namin with teens and with children, no? So hindi ganito yung presentation. So another ones, yun nga, paulit-ulit, no? Importante yung consent, concept building sa mga bata, even younger children, napaka-importante na to. And a very common and paulit-ulit na messaging dapat is it's not your fault. Kasi majority of teens, aside from the kahihiyan, yung isang rason ba't ayaw nila magsumbong is natatakot sila na baka sila pa yung i-blame. So we have to counteract those messaging. So yung telling a trusted adult box, no? Pag online safety na yung discussion, nadadagdagan siya. Kasi kailangan nating i-provide yung mga online reporting channels din, no? So ito naman yung karaniwan, yung alam natin, yung mag-report kayo sa Makabata Helpline, sa DepEd Telesafe Contact Center, punta kayo sa WCPU. Pero pag ang usapin ay, for example, paano pag kumalat na yung images ko, you have to provide children also information on how they can safely request for image takedown. So ito yung isang pinopromote namin, yung Take It Down, the Take It Down platform ng ncmec.org. So isa siyang online platform wherein a teen or someone and anyone working with the children can request for takedown of nude images of children. So let's watch a short info video about the Take It Down platform.
Baka pag nagsumbong ako, mas lalo lang akong mapahamak. Nahihiya akong malaman ni nanay ang nangyari. Ano pang mukha ang ihaharap ko sa mga kaklase ko?
Alam naming masakit at nakakatakot. Pero gusto naming ipaalala sa iyo na hindi mo kasalanan na ang larawan o video na para lang sa iyo ay ipinakalat ng walang pahintulot ng taong inakala mong mapagkakatiwalaan. Hindi ka nag-iisa at may magagawa tayo. kasama, kakampi, katuwang mo kami to take it down. Leaked nudes? We can take it down. Sensitive videos? We can take it down. Photos na ginagamit para i-blackmail ka? We can take it down. Narito ang take it down upang hindi na kumalat pa ang larawan o video mo at para tulungan kang mabura nito sa internet. Ang take it down ay para sa mga taong may larawan o video nila na hubad, bahagyang hubad o nasa sensitibong sitwasyon na kuha noong wala pa silang 18 years old. At iniisip nilang na-post na o baka ma-post pa sa internet. Hindi kailanman kasalanan ang magtiwala. Ang kasalanan ay ang paggamit ng imahe mo para manira, manakot o manlinlang. Ang katawan mo ay sayo. At tanging ikaw lang ang may karapatang magpasya kung paano ito ibabahagi, mapaselfie man o video. Kaya't sa oras na handa ka na, ay handa rin kami to take it down.
So that's one tool that we can actually advise our clients to utilize if ever they will be faced in that particular situation. So ngayon, I'll provide links to some learning resources that you can view, download, and use based on your own needs, no? So ito po, so you can maybe take a screenshot or later on ita-type ko sa chat box yung bit.ly link so you can navigate to that to this free resource. So ito po ay compendium ng mga materials na dinevelop namin sa Stairway wherein you can freely download and use for monetary purposes. So yan po. So you can take a screenshot. So okay, with that, so yun po, dun po natatapos yung aking sharing this afternoon. I hope that you found it useful to a certain degree for your work. I hope you figure out how to utilize the information. Yan. Maraming salamat po.